of error where you assign man hours to a task, let the computer program kind of spit out and show you how many people you need, and then kind of work to level your resources based on how much hours you think a task is gonna take. But a better way is to work through the process ahead of time with the foremen that are going to be overseeing the work, and talk about the people that are going to be on the job and which ones are the best for these particular tasks, and work to formulate the right team. Than letting some computer program spit out hours. That's important, but a better approach is to make sure you got the right team that's actually going to be working on that job. Maybe this guy doesn't have the right skill set that we need because we're going to be doing a lot of acoustical ceiling work, but he's not very good at acoustical ceiling, so okay, maybe he's not the right person for us to make as part of the team on the project. So, things like that.
I have not really a question, but like just about the last one, I had a good example this summer of not even necessarily for productivity's sake, but sometimes just the subcontractors can have issues. So like I did like as a renovation, and not every shower surround got replaced, and there was the guy who did it though. If there was only one for the day, the company was upset because he only had like a half a day's worth of work, so we had to make sure he had two every day and kind of move things around.
Sure.
That's a really good example of what Chris is talking about. Yeah, so you're right, subcontractors want to be efficient too, right? And
Yeah.
so they don't want to have to send a guy out, drive to a job, or go to a warehouse, pick up material, drive to a job to do 2 hours worth of work, and he needs to be paid 8 hours for the day. So, yeah, planning, I think including, I think what Chris is getting at is including the subcontractors in that planning and leveling the work so that, if hey, the shower surround guys right now, if we started now, he's only going to have one to do a day. Is there a way that maybe we could delay his start, or could we accelerate the work in front of him so that when he comes into the job, he could do 2 or 3 a day?
And that's exactly what we did.
Yeah, perfect. That's a great example.
Any other questions or comments? Let's see what's next. So in terms of measuring productivity, this is just an example of a productivity tracking sheet that we use at DPR, where you've got labor hours that are inputted based on what the crews worked that week, along with the quantity that was installed for that particular line. I know it's a little bit of bleeding on the eyes because you can't see all the details here, but to highlight just a couple of things is when you're measuring productivity, it's about the hours and it's about the quantity that was installed in those hours. And what that should tell us, and what we should use it for, is to understand and project, okay, how many hours are we going to spend remaining on the job, and is that over or under our budget? And if we're working to meet the productivity that was used to create the estimate for the hours that we're going to spend doing that particular activity, if we're tracking that and we go over, and we say we're projecting to go over, like you see a lot of these negative numbers here, okay, now we need to put a plan in place to increase productivity so that we don't run over on our cost. And some of that then goes back to that production optimizer. Let's figure out what the reasons are that we're not meeting our productivity and solve them so that way we don't go over our budget and lose money, right? Construction is a business, and DPR is a for-profit company, so we do not want to go over budget. And clients don't want us to go over budget, especially if they're paying our bills, right? So this tool here is just a tool that we use to track productivity and be able to predict where we're going to end up on a project, but then react before it's too late to maintain cost. That's what we have in terms of content. Any other questions or comments relative to what we discussed? Any questions that we can answer in terms of specific projects that we worked on? Maybe give some real life examples. Anything you guys have seen in your internships or in this class that you have questions on?
Do we want to recap what the 3 principles were that we talked about? Because we did do a deep dive there, which was important. But let's recap what the 313 were.
Chris, could you highlight your use of work packaging?
Okay.
And how that relates to your productive, your control of the actual rate of production that you're doing? Can you spin the summary of those work packages up to the project level, and expect that if you meet each package goals, that's going to spin up into meeting the overall project goals.
Yeah, so that actually gets a little bit back to the right amount of detail that we have here as one of the standards of PSPP. In that there may be an overall project plan that has certain milestones for finishing certain work packages, but then we want to break that down and get more detailed even to see what it will take to achieve that milestone. And maybe that has different factors in it relative to availability of materials, relative to availability of labor, relative to if the area is even designed appropriately, has all the questions answered to be able to go in and put the work in place. To me, that speaks a little bit more to the right amount of detail, making sure we have that detail in our plan to be able to accomplish that particular milestone. Let's say it's finishing deep and shallow foundations on a building, and that's the work package that we're working through. So let's get the detail there. What do we need? We need shop drawings. We need a subcontractor to drill the piles and all these various things. Let's get that in the detailed plan and go through it with our subcontracting partners, if we're self-performing the work, with our project management, go through it with the foremen that are actually going to be executing the work, and make sure we have all the details ironed out before we actually get started with the work. Does that answer a little bit?
And going from the work package down to the field task package, do those roll up into your work package success, and then the work packages roll up into the
Right.
overall
I think it's on here. One of the things, traceability. So any types of plans and work packages and schedules that we have, if they're overall scheduled and the more detailed you get, that word vertical traceability, they need to roll up together and complement each other. You can't have a detailed weekly work plan, a task plan or something that says that we're going to finish the fourth floor next Tuesday, but the date to finish the fourth floor on the overall project schedule was a week ago. That's not maintaining vertical traceability. And so I think that's more what you're getting at, right? With the task plans and the work package plans and then the overall plan. They have to align. They have to speak to each other and maintain that vertical traceability.
Also, how do you create in the mind of the foreman a understanding to elicit the commitment of all of the factors that go into the production of that field work package, to make sure he agrees, yep, I can do it safely, I can meet the production, I can meet the duration, I can do all of these factors, and make a commitment on that work package or task package, so that it can roll up task package after task package into overall project success.
Yeah, there's a lot of education that needs to occur with the workforce, with our foremen, on just that. And I'll go back to the trust even as well. For those of you that worked out in the field maybe and talk to foremen, it's always the under-promise, over-deliver factor, right? Hey, when are you going to have that work done? Well, I'm going to have it done in 3 days, when he knows he can probably get it done in 2 days, because he don't want to say 2 days, have it take 3 days, and then get in trouble for not finishing and not meeting his commitment, right? So you're always kind of battling that a little bit, where folks are under-promising and over-delivering. And some of that is education to the foreman to say that's just as bad as committing to have it done sooner and finishing it later. Because we're planning the work off of when you say you're going to finish the job. And if you say you're going to finish, or that task, and if you say you're going to finish it later than when you actually do, that screws up the work down the line. And so it's a little bit of education with our foreman that, we want the truth, and you're not going to be crucified for the truth, but we don't want either under-promising, over-delivering, and we don't want the other one where you over-promise and under-deliver. We want accurate. That's all we want. That make sense? Anybody ever encounter that a little bit on a job where you're trying to figure out work for the week and it's hard to extract the truth from that foreman or that task leader? Yeah? Any other questions? Yeah.
I mean, how do you make sure you have the right people on the project with the labor shortage and still have an optimized schedule without just hiring people to work?
Yeah, so that, to me, I'll answer, and Drew, you can give an answer. To me, we got to go back a little bit deeper. Okay, why do we not have the workforce available? What's causing that? Are we not going to high schools and showing people they can have careers in construction? So that they go that direction right out of high school? Are we offering the right amount of training where people feel like that they're getting the opportunity to succeed, in a trade? What are the factors that are contributing to maybe not having that workforce? Rather than just trying to go out and hire a bunch of people, let's figure out a way to create that pool of resources earlier sort of in that life cycle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think another aspect of and responding to the concern, and man, there's so much work, how are we going to find the people, is to just be aware of the market and to be aware before you decide if you want to pursue a job. Hey, we're getting ready to pursue this job, but there's also 4 other big jobs going on in town. So there's going to be a shortage of maybe tile setters, or there's going to be a shortage of glassing, glazing subs. And so maybe that becomes a factor in whether or not we even want to pursue the project, because the last thing we want to do is win a project and not be able to complete it. So there's actually 2 ways, in parallel paths, to attack that concern. I'm not super familiar with the market in the Midwest right now. I imagine it's robust, but in Orlando, that's a actual real live concern problem right now. I mean, there's tons of mega projects going on in Orlando right now. And we're all clamoring to get our piece of the pie and win the work. But the concern is going to be, are we going to have the plumbers and the mechanical trades to actually do the work, especially on the compressed schedules the owners are expecting the work to be done? So great question, and something you have to be aware of when you're making a decision about pursuing work. These are good questions. Keep them coming if you got any more. I know that was a lot of content. Was this applicable to what you're working on in class here as far as thinking about, what's really fascinating to me about this subject is I think we spend, well, I may be wrong on this, but I think we spend a lot of time when we're in construction curriculums, we spend a lot of time thinking about scheduling, and we think a lot about estimating, we think a lot about contract management, but really, construction is one of the least automated industries you can be in. I mean, nowadays especially, it takes probably as many people as any other industry you could go into to actually plan and execute successful work. And so you can never lose sight of how important it is to be able to build relationships, build teams, and then properly plan the work without relying on, it's not an assembly line. Right? It's not a car factory. It's a construction project, and it's completely unique to anything that's ever been done before every time you start a new one.
And to add on that just a little bit, construction is also unique because you go from project to project and the teams are different.
That's right.
So you're constantly reshuffling the teams that you're building. And so it's even more important to focus on building that trust, having the right people to be part of the team when it's ever changing so much. Different than manufacturing where you may be able to set up a team, you got a plant manager, and you got other folks that are helping the machinery, and they're probably going to do that for the next decade, right? And so you've established that team, there's a rapport, and now you're going. On construction, every year, or if it's a small job, every month, you could be interacting and working with a different team and reshuffling that deck. And so it's even more important, I think, to focus on the people aspect. Yeah.
Kind of going off the question on the labor shortage, what's a bigger challenge for you guys? Is it finding the labor or finding labor that has worked together and that you think would be the right people for the job?
I would say it's probably the skilled aspect shortage. There may be people that are available to fill a seat, so to speak, but actually having the skills necessary to do the work that we're asking to be done would be where the shortage is occurring, I would say.
Yeah, our industry needs to do a better job of going into the high schools, like Chris was alluding to earlier, and talking to students who might not be a good fit for college, that there's a really good living to be made being an electrician or being a plumber. I mean, the tradesmen that work with their hands and actually install work are in huge demand right now. I mean, huge demand. especially where we're from, in Orlando right now, and in Florida in general, Southeast in general. And so that's something that the industry needs to work on very much so, is encouraging people who might not aspire to go to 4 years of college to consider going to a trade school or technical school and learning how to be an electrician or plumber or mechanical HVAC contractor, because it's not a second-class citizen's job. It is absolutely a great living and something that is in huge demand right now. It's a little off topic, but it's a plug anyway, because it's important. That's important.
Well, can you supply to laborers besides money? I saw this summer they offer Saturdays and overtime. A lot of people make enough money just doing the regular week where they don't need it. So how do you incentivize getting people to the job and wanting to be a part of progress?
That's a good question. So certainly money is a big factor for everybody. I mean, we live in a society that we need money to live. But just as important as that are some of the other intangible things. Having the opportunity to grow and to maybe make more money. Having that kind of path. Having a clean and orderly and safe working condition is something that is sort of intangible, does benefit. And just having work that's enjoyable, some of the things we're talking about with that production optimization, if we're ramping up manpower or if we're working on top of each other, even if you are making a pretty decent wage, being an electrician, if you're constantly getting bumped into by somebody with a ladder, or some of these other things, nobody's gonna have fun doing that, right? So you gotta make the work fun and reach towards some of those more intangibles that attract people, make them feel good about what they're doing. Good question.
Any other questions? We did want to reserve a couple minutes to do a quick shameless plug, if that's okay, right? We have a couple of slides. Yeah, I don't know if you guys, go ahead. Yeah, you got a question?
So I know like the construction industry is very different from the other industry as you mentioned, like the tempo, collaboration, this kind of list, most list, but the construction industry has the most least repetitive process in their project. So my question is, when you like implement the lean principle into your business, so what are the most challenging in like implementing the lean principle, and also how do you address the challenge?
It's a great question. Without thinking about that for a long time, for me, my answer would be is holding people accountable to what they said they would do. I'd say that, in order to operate completely leanly, if that's a word to do, completely lean, everyone has to work at their optimum efficiency all the time. If you've got a plan based on the least amount of waste and the highest level of production, and someone doesn't show up or just doesn't pull their weight, then all of a sudden the plan falls apart all around that person. So holding people accountable, and then I would say as a follow-up to that is reacting quickly when that happens and coming up with a new plan, or replacing that resource that maybe didn't hold up their part. So I don't know, you guys probably mostly have, everybody's senior, right? Is it everybody's senior? So probably I've done some internships and already have worked with some of your companies, but we did want to tell you just real quickly about DPR. If you don't know us, we feel like we're one of the leaders in the construction industry. We're a young company. We were just founded in 1980, and we have, sorry? 1990, sorry. 1990, sorry. Headquartered in Redwood City, California. But we have grown across the south and southeast and up to the northeast as well, with just opening an office in Boston not that long ago. 2,300 full-time staff right now, and 2,700 craft employees, as Chris mentioned. Those are most of our self-performed guys. And we are highly ranked by E&R in these particular markets. And we're proud of the fact that we're very focused on the type of projects we do, so you're not going to see our company building an apartment building or building a roadside motel. We really pride ourselves in building more technically challenging projects. We think, A, we're good at it, and B, we think that inspires our employees more because there's always a challenge. There's no prototype or there's no kind of repetitive work that we do from project to project. It's everyone is unique. And then I think we also have some very cool and inspiring core values in integrity, enjoyment, uniqueness, and never before. These are the things that we just put into play every day when we're thinking about how we want to grow, how we want to advance our company. We certainly want to be honest and always do the right thing with each other and externally with our customers. We love to have a great time. There's a lot of ways that we do that, but we think it's important. We think we have better employees if they're all happy and having a good time. That's part of being lean, right? Working at your highest efficiency because you enjoy what you do. We think we're a little unique. Our culture is different. One of the ways it's different is that we're a very, very flat organization. We have a management committee, 9 people that are spread out all over the country, and they all have equal empowerment to make decisions about how our business is run. Then each office has a leader, and then the rest of the company. So we don't have these giant hierarchical structures of vice presidents and corporate vice presidents, executive vice presidents. Every employee in the company is fully empowered, and I really mean it when I say that. We're fully empowered to take the company to the next level every day you come to work. There's no approvals, there's no one breathing down your neck, there's no process or form to fill out. We literally just hold each other accountable to doing whatever it takes to get the company to the next level every day. And we think that's one of the things that makes us unique. And then we're ever forward. We're always looking for the next way to do something different or better or more efficiently or more effectively. We're constantly exploring new technologies, new processes. IPD was one that, we were one of the leaders in the industry in executing IPD work. So that's...
It's 12:20 now, so I know you guys are...
Oh, sorry, I'm all right.
Probably had you to get out, so, yeah. That's it.
Yeah, we'll be around.
We want to thank you for coming. It's
Thank you very
very useful, and I think reinforcing the things we've been able to.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you. Thank you for our...
I think